head is full of questions, and the sky is full of rain. When I'm worrying about what I can't change, I take a look at my reflection and try to make a funny face. And for a second all my sorrows melt away. As if we just smile, we can forget all of our troubles for a while. We can just live inside this moment. You and I get through the darkness, knowing we'll find the light. If we just smile, if we just smile, yeah, if we just smile. Maybe we focus on the future, no use in living in the past. Try to remember that the bad times never last. And every day one step at a time, we gonna make it alright. If we stick together, we'll be fine. 'Cause if we just smile, we can forget all of our troubles for a while. We can just live inside this moment. You and I get through the darkness, knowing we'll find the light. If we just smile, if we just smile when the sky is falling, smile when the love comes calling. We can take tomorrow on with style. If we just smile, we can forget all of our troubles for a while. Yeah, we can just live inside this moment. You and I get through the darkness, knowing we'll find the light.
Good morning, everybody. It is just me and you. No Shana this morning. She's in the other room on a meeting. So you and I are just going to have a nice morning. I do have a really good topic for you that I believe you guys are going to totally enjoy. Or at least, maybe if you don't enjoy it, you'll at least learn something. Let's put it that way. So this is a different one for today. So thank you guys for joining us. The first item that we do each day is go through roll call, right? So if you would, please chat in your name and announce yourself and raise your hand and be like, I'm here, I'm present, I am accountable. The whole thing here is we're creating this routine and this habit, right? So if this is your first time here today, why don't you just go ahead and chat in your full name for us and we'll welcome you. And we're trying to create this nice routine for you. This is all about giving and sharing information within the real estate space and allowing you to become a better agent every single day. And we have only one topic today. And the one topic today is going to be conservation easements. Most of a full description of it, a talking point so you can understand it. It's a deep topic in a lot of items within it, but it is something that is provided by the federal government. I'll talk through what it is, how it works, and being more knowledgeable about it as an agent is going to help you out at some point in your career. Maybe not today, but at some point it will help you. Okay, so without further ado, let me go ahead and take the bell and move to topic number one, please. Hey there, I'm Mike Acquisto, real estate broker and co-owner with Acquisto Real Estate, and we're going to be speaking about conservation easements. We're going to cover the who, the why, the how, the what, the how much, and what's going on as far as conservation easements go here in very short order. So the first thing is, what is a conservation easement? And where could I get some more information about it? So we have provided some of that information down below in the description. So go ahead and roll down there and you'll be able to grab some of the websites that we will speak about, and they'll all be located nice and easy for you. And as we go through, we'll be chatting in some links that you can follow with. So we do have a couple of handouts that we're going to have as well and show off on the screen. But let's start with a very good resource with the Montana Land Reliance. We'll chat in that, and we'll go ahead and share the screen and show you some information from them. Let's see if we can do that for them, Omkar. Perfect. So here we are, the Montana Land Reliance. This is a nonprofit entity in the state of Montana. Now, I'm a little bit more familiar with this one, being a Montana real estate broker. Myself, I do utilize them more often for resource information, and there will be a state agency or a nonprofit agency that tries to assist this in most states, including the state of Texas, that we'll also have for you a little bit later on. So the state of Montana, this one was started in 1978, and what they have is their goal is to help conserve land for property owners and give tax benefits to landowners whom voluntarily restrict some of the bundles of rights that they own as property owners. Okay, so what does that even mean? So what it means is when you purchase a property, you're probably aware that there are surface rights and subsurface rights. And those are the two things that you kind of think about in a traditional residential real estate transaction. But like most of the subsurface rights have already been transferred. So now you just think about like, well, there's a home and I live in it, right? Well, there's a lot of opportunity here when you talk about raw land and what those opportunities are. So the bundle of rights you have is how you develop it and what you would put upon that property. So I'm going to have Omkar just be scrolling through here, and you can see some different items about the Land Reliance that they do. But the basic concept is if you owned a bunch of land, let's say you owned 100 acres, you would have a bunch of different options on how you would develop it. You could put in high density stuff. You could put in low density. You could put in commercial. You could put in residential. And there's always a highest and best use of that land, whatever that happens to be. And for that, there is like a complete value that the property would be worth on an appraisal basis. And if you're looking at it, if you voluntarily restrict or remove these different rights that you would be able to have as a property owner. So for example, if you owned 100 acres and the zoning allowed you to put in one residential unit per acre, then you would be allowed to put in 100 units within this acreage. So just go with me and assume this. I know there's some other details in there. But let's assume that you could put in 100 lots or 100 residential units on 100 acres because you're allowed to do that one per acre. If you voluntarily restrict yourself and say, I am going to only put in one property on this 100 acres, and you're going to voluntarily lessen the economic viability of your own property, then you are due a tax credit to offset the permanent, meaning like perpetual, always, standing forever, on this property, the opportunity to put more in. So in doing that, you're essentially making the world's or the states or the federal resources for land more scarce, and you're removing them from play. So what happens is you are going to be offset because you're conserving resources, making others more valuable, and making it that there's a scarcity of whatever this happens to be. So if you do that, then you get an appraisal on your property before for full economic viability and after for what your property is like when it's conserved or not fully utilized. You as a property owner would have the opportunity to restrict as much or as little. You could do it that it's temporary, but if it's temporary, you don't get the proper tax credit, and sometimes you're really looking for the tax benefits. So right here, we have some of the tax benefits that you would be looking for, right? And you could restrict yourself in many different ways, whether or not you mine on it, whether or not you mine on it for certain resources, whether or not you put livestock, cattle, grazing, whether or not you divided it with a fence, whether or not you had 5 units, 10 units, whatever that happened to be. And by doing that, you're reducing the value of the property. So essentially, you're going to take the highest economic value according to an appraisal of what that property is worth and what the new value of the property is with these new encumbrances or restrictions that you're voluntarily placing upon it. And this independent organization, that is a nonprofit called Montana Land Reliance in this particular case, will assist you and walk through that complete scenario and assist you. And it takes about, so right now we're in January, at the end of January. Typically people start in about May for that calendar year, and you have to have it completed by September so that you can file it and get that tax benefit for the following year. So there's a timeline on how long it takes, and there's a cost associated with it. You'll have to provide new appraisals before and after, and you'll have to defend each of these different validations. But what you will receive at the end is a tax benefit or a tax credit to offset your income tax that you can use all in one year or gradually over this year, this tax year, and 15 subsequent tax years. So this tax credit will go against your income. So what does that mean? It means that if you, as an example, made using round numbers, if you made $100,000 a year, and that was your AGI or adjusted gross income, if that was that particular item, then what would happen is if you voluntarily encumbered your property or conserved your property, you would have a lower value for your property. So let's say in that scenario that you had a property that was worth $1 million and you voluntarily put less upon it. We talked about that scenario in which you had the opportunity to put 100 units on and you only put one on. So in that case, you are dramatically conserving the properties or the resources. So the property value might go from $1 million down to, let's say, 100,000. Okay, so now you have lost $900,000 worth of value in your property because you can only put one unit there in this particular case. Okay, so now you have restricted yourself and lost $900,000 on paper of value. Now maybe you really want to only have one property on this 100 acres where you could have had 100, and you think that's best for you, and that's what you really want. So in doing so, you're going to receive an offset of a tax credit of that $900,000 that you can utilize against your AGI or adjusted gross income. That number can be taken all at once in 1 year. But this particular scenario we talked through, and we said that you had an income of $100,000 on an annual basis. Assuming that your income was the same every single year, then what would happen in this scenario is your $900,000 would be able to utilize $100,000 for the first year. And if you continue to do that, it would take you 8 additional years for that tax credit to be fully utilized. What that will do is offset your income and give you the benefit of not paying tax or a tax reduction on that income that you normally would have paid to the federal government. So what you would have is a property that now has the ability to only put one property upon it. And we'll look over here at conservation easements. This is a link that producer O will chat in for us. It has a lot of nice pictures, so it's often really nice to look at something like that. But these pictures will be present for you and the information about it so you can understand if you like to read instead of listen. But essentially what we're doing is restricting the property, receiving a tax benefit for it. The speed in which you receive your tax benefits are going to be based on what category you happen to fall into. If you are a farm and rancher and you derive at least 50% of your income according to from farming and ranching, then you can receive 100% of that benefit all in 1 year. If you are not a qualified rancher or farmer yourself for income, then you'll be taking that at a 50% deduction each year. So what does that mean? We talked about that $900,000 number just a moment ago. And if you made that $900,000 and you were not primarily a rancher in this particular case, then you could only use 50% of the tax credit on an annual basis. So that number would continue to run. So we talked about the fact that you would be using $100,000 the first year and then using it as $800,000 over the next 8 years for that number. In this particular case, if you're not a qualified rancher or farmer, then you would only be able to use 50% of it, or $50,000 on an annual basis, and you would pay tax on 50% of your income to write it down if that's the particular case. So it would take you an extended period of time to fully utilize that. You could stage when you donate or conserve your property and work on a staged benefit to ensure that you receive your tax credits and they're fully utilized and recognized. So you could encumber half of your property at once and then do the rest of it later if you felt that was in your best interest. This number doesn't matter what type of income you have, whether it happens to be income that is derived or generated from whatever tax rate, that doesn't matter. It all counts the same. If you happen to have the highest possible tax rate, that's absolutely fine. If you're an entertainer, an athlete, you have different tax rates. You have windfall earnings, you have whatever those items are, you can utilize this against all of that income. Short-term capital gains, long-term capital gains, doesn't matter, it's all treated the same. Now you would have the useful ownership of this property. You don't have to go ahead and take and conserve your property and make it a park. You can still restrict it under the terms that you as a property owner decide you want to do. So if you want to allow people on the property, well, I guess that's your ownership interest and you could totally do that. If you'd like to restrict it where it still remains private property, probably a great idea, right? So you decide what you want to retain. And as you give up more rights or more bundles, then you would receive more tax credit or tax offsets. Okay, so that's a lot of information for you. It is very beneficial when you have large tracts of land, when you have price appreciations, and when you would like tax credits to offset your income, and in scenarios which you have people that want to remain private or are okay with these restrictions. As an agent, the places and times when you would like to utilize this would be when you hear that a person has a high taxable income, or the desire to own a lot of land, or the desire to be private, or the desire to restrict or to conserve. There's a lot of different times, right? So this is a way as you as an agent could assist a person in offsetting their tax benefits over a period of time. Once this is done, it will, in theory, decrease the value of the property, but I'm not positive that that's the long-term item that would actually take place. I believe that people want to have space and have clarification on what would go on within that property that they purchased or properties around them. So if you are interested in something like that, you want to have a lot of property, we can absolutely assist you with that. As an agent, just know that it exists. Know that we do understand this concept totally. Know that you will be working with a qualified attorney to assist you. Know that you definitely are going to need to have an appraiser, an experienced agent, and somebody who is on your side that cares. Costs associated with filing one of these is going to be about $50,000, and it's going to be $20,000 for a donation to the Land Reliance to be able to assist you, $10,000 for an appraisal-ish, and an additional $20,000 for all the filings, for all the paperwork, for the documentation, for the attorneys, for the time that it takes to go ahead and complete this. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is a bunch of information there for you. We did provide you with a couple of different links. We did scroll through a bunch of different items. I hope that you enjoyed today's TNT session, just you and I. This will always be there. And when the time comes and you need to look it back up, just know that that topic is there and that we will be here to help you. If today is not the day, maybe tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. But when you hear that word, conservation easements, just know that this is now here, and so are we. Let's go ahead and hit the bell and end today's topic. Alrighty, that's it for today. I covered one item, but boy, was that a good item, and boy, was there a lot of information there. Just know that we do fully understand it, and when these words come up, that we can assist you. So this is an item that is applicable in the state of Texas, as well as any of those other states that are in the US of A. If you would, go ahead and chat in and be like, hey, Mike, that was pretty good. I learned something today. If you know more than me about this topic, then your name's probably Megan, and you will not chat in. But if you learned something today, then just be thankful and maybe chat in and say like, hey, thanks, right? So we want to be a little bit of interactive. Just know that today is also, I think we're on a Thursday, and we have agent meetings today. Megan will be leading those. For new and unlicensed agents, we'll be meeting with Megan today. So we look forward to seeing you guys there. We are back in the office in Frisco, Texas. It is so nice to be home, but it's also nice to leave. So maybe we'll be leaving again soon, but either which way, we are happy to be here and happy to be assisting you guys. See you later. If there's anything I can do for you, email me. Goodbye.
When my head is full of questions and the sky is full of rain, when I'm worrying about what I can't change, I take a look at my reflection and try to make a funny face, and for a second all my sorrows melt away. As if we just smile, we can forget all of our troubles for a while. We can just live inside this moment, you and I, get through the darkness knowing we'll find the light. If we just smile, if we just smile, yeah, if we just smile. Maybe we focus on the future, no use in living in the past. Try to remember that the bad times never last. And every day one step at a time, we gonna make it alright. If we stick together, we'll be fine. 'Cause if we just smile, we can forget all of our troubles for a while. We can just live inside this moment, you and I, get through the darkness knowing we'll find the light. If we just smile, if we just smile when the sky is falling, smile when the love comes calling. We can take tomorrow on with style. If we just smile, we can forget all of our troubles for a while. Yeah, we can just live inside this moment, you and I, get through the darkness knowing we'll find the light. If we just smile, if we just smile, yeah, if we just smile, if we just smile, yeah, if we just smile, if we just smile. When my head is full of questions and the sky is full of rain, when I'm worrying about what I can't change. I take a look at my reflection and try to make a funny face, and for a second all my sorrows melt away. As if we just smile, we can forget all of our troubles for a while. We can just live inside this moment. You and I get through the darkness knowing we'll find the light. If we just smile, if we just smile, yeah, if we just smile. Maybe we focus on the future, no use in living in the past. Try to remember that the bad times never last. And every day one step at a time, we gonna make it alright. If we stick together, we'll be fine. 'Cause if we just smile, we can forget all of our troubles for a while. We can just live inside this moment. You and I get through the darkness knowing we'll find the light. If we just smile, if we just smile when the sky is falling, smile when the love comes calling. We can take tomorrow on with style. If we just smile, we can forget all of our troubles for a while. Yeah, we can just live inside this moment. You and I get through the darkness knowing we'll find the light. If we just smile, if we just smile, yeah, if we just smile, if we just smile, yeah, if we just smile, if we just smile. When my head is full of questions and the sky is full of rain, when I'm worrying about what I can't change, I take a look at my reflection and try to make a funny face, and for a second all my sorrows melt away. As if we just smile, we can forget all of our troubles for a while. We can just live inside this moment. You and I get through the darkness knowing we'll find the light. If we just smile, if we just